Hi, welcome back to Everblaze Pharmacy. Dr. Tamitha Davis. Today I want to talk to you about kids and the sickness and disease that they're facing today. In my previous video, I mentioned briefly about how when I was a child, I had like hyperactivity, and my doctors at the time, I think I was like 8, 9 years old, they put me on Ritalin up until I was 13. I took myself off of it because apparently I was too squirmy in the seats and I wasn't focusing. My grades were affected. And I had mentioned in that video that as children, when we're developing, and just as humans, we are designed to be on the move. Look at other animals in nature. I have a saying, what's nature doing that we're not doing? Nature's outside, getting sunshine. Animals are roaming around. They're eating things in the wild, in nature, getting plenty of sunshine. They're not wearing shoes, not wearing clothes. I'm not saying we should be outside naked by any means, because some of us should not be outside naked. But we should be outside more. We should be getting more sunshine than we are. Kids definitely should be getting outside and playing. Most kids today are inside playing on a video game. They're very sedentary. And we're starting to see disease younger and younger kids. They're getting younger and younger. I mean, the kids aren't getting younger. We all get older. But just the diseases are starting to happen in like children below the age of 10. There's diabetes and high blood pressure and cancers and stuff are just an alarming rate right now in our youth. And that's what I want to kind of talk to you guys about today, why that is, my theory, and what we can do about it. But before we begin, if you are interested in natural health and healing and gardening, then consider subscribing to my channel, and let's dive into our topic. One of the things that kids are being diagnosed with is hyperactivity, and they are being put on medications. Some parents decide to either not put them on medications. We're also seeing teenagers who are more depressed. They're on antidepressants, anti-anxiety medications. So why is this happening? You know, this is typically issues that you would see in adults who are having stressful lives, have a stressful job. They have to pay bills and all this other stuff. They've been partying. Well, the reason is because there's more chemicals today than there was back in like the 40s, 50s, 60s, back in 1800s, you know, most definitely. So we're starting to see children developing these cognitive issues. You have to keep in mind that our brains aren't really fully developed until well past adolescence. Certain parts of our bodies are not developed until we're like 25 years old. So when you take a look at the food that we are feeding children, has these high amounts of chemicals in them, and chemicals that's being put onto their body, this is affecting growth and development of the child. Back a couple of years ago, before COVID, you may have seen videos where these people were doing these hauls where they were doing couponing, and they were at the register. They had a whole stack of stuff, and they spent like $5 on like $1,200 worth of stuff. And I remember seeing a video on a couponing Facebook page that I was a part of because I was doing some couponing myself. And this lady says, I have my kids' lunches for the next school year. And I'm taking a look at her haul, and there was not a single fruit or vegetable anywhere in sight. There was chips, cookies, Lunchables, and just little snack cakes and things like that, little juice boxes. And I'm like, you're going to feed that to your child at least 5 days a week? And she also had cereal, because she said she also had their snacks for after school and their breakfasts. And she had boxes and boxes and boxes of different varieties of cereal. It's all sugar. Their snacks was like little Cliff Bars for kids and little Squeeze-It fruit pouches and fruit roll-ups, and all that is just high fructose corn syrup, chemicals, food dyes, additives, all kinds of stuff. So these kids were getting bombarded at least 5 days a week, before and after school, during school, with nothing but a sugar rush and chemicals. This really affects kids' cognitive abilities and just overall development of a child. And that's why a lot of times adults will start to have issues when they are older, needing antidepressants, because when we're older, we get away from home, we get out on our own, we start eating out more, we start developing bad habits, drinking, smoking, partying. All those are chemicals, and we start to develop issues in our body. You know, people start smoking and they start doing, you know, some street drugs. All these are chemicals that's going to affect you in your brain. Imagine what this is doing to children when they are developing, you know, from like toddlers and stuff. You know, I'm part of a Facebook group that is for pregnancies over the age of 40, and just even other people who I know have had babies in general are feeding their babies formula. And I'm like, we have boobs, you know, we have the ability to make food, and breastfed babies don't have as much issues as babies that are fed formula. And there's so much stuff in formula. Like, I started reading stuff, and there was like my husband's grandchildren, they were on some formula, and they say, oh, if you take a magnet, it'll pull out. I was like, no, there's no metal particles in baby formula. Sure as crap. I was like, what is this? Oh, is it iron? Or I was like, I would not be trying to feed that to my child. So we're here injecting them with stuff, you know, all these vaccines, and then we start loading them up with sugar and candy and stuff. And that's why these diseases are starting to happen in kids at a younger age at a faster rate. And then what does doctors do? Well, they're hyperactive disorder, so let's give them a pharmaceutical medication that will just jack them up even more. When I was on Ritalin from the age of like 8, 9 until I was 13 years old, I hated the way I felt. I felt like I was in a fog, I felt like I was not in reality, and I eventually slowly started to stop taking those medications. I was diagnosed at the age of 16, 17, somewhere in there, with tachycardia. I was having crazy symptoms, and I just dealt with them because I had no idea what was going on. Now, my parents did have farm animals, so we raised our own chickens, but we did shop for beef and pork and dairy and stuff outside of what we were growing, but we did have our own garden, and I really feel deep down that it probably would have been worse if I had continued taking the medication and eating stuff that was more highly processed. But you know, we'll never know, because I'm not going back down that rabbit hole. So what can we do as parents today to help our children to develop properly? Well, take a look at nature. We need to start feeding them real food. We need to stop feeding them stuff that's in a box. We need to start cooking for them. We need to be teaching and educating them to cook healthy foods for themselves. Instead of packing a fruit pack for them for lunch, give them a real apple, give them a real banana, give them real oranges. Make your own applesauce. There's so many things that we can do. We are in control of our children's health and well-being. There's so many of these diseases: cancers, high blood pressures, diabetes, type 1 diabetes. These are all preventable if we start them off right. And me being pregnant right now, it all starts there. If we start eating healthy ourselves, our babies are going to be healthy. We breastfeed our babies and continue to eat healthy, breastfeeding our babies, we're going to give our babies good nutrition. And then they're going to be more likely, because kids don't just wake up one day and say, I don't like fruits or vegetables. They're going to turn their nose to it because they're craving the sugary stuff that we've been giving them. So if we give them the healthier things, they're not going to know about all the crazy cereals. I don't want to feed my baby any like sugary cereals and stuff. I'm sure his dad's probably going to sneak some stuff in there because that's just way society has taught him, and that's how he's raised his other kids, eating chicken nuggets and, you know, fast food, you know, going through the drive-thru. Hey, let's go to McDonald's, Burger King, whatever. And I don't want to expose children. So if you're not, it's going to be hard, I will just say. It's going to be kind of difficult if you all of a sudden take the stuff away from your kid. And it's, you know, sugar is very addicting, so it actually has the same effect as cocaine in your body. So when you're doing this, you're going to have to take away the bad stuff slowly and start adding the good stuff. The younger they are, the better. But if you have like 9, 10, 12, 13, 14, 16-year-olds, it's going to be really, really hard. But you can do it. It's like, sorry, this is what your options are. We're not doing all that. We got to try to get you healthier. Obesity rate in kids are just skyrocketing. Oh my gosh. They're just a lot of these little chunky kids out there, and they're just eating mindlessly. So we need to take control of our children's lives and what they eat, what they're doing. The other thing is that they're just constantly on mobile devices. They are not getting out enough. We need to help them to get outside and play with them. You need to be chasing your children, you know, playing ball, or, you know, going for hikes in the woods or something. We need to be getting them outside. You know, I grew up in the 90s. We were outside. We were not allowed to come inside until after the streetlights came on. So we spent a lot of time outside riding bicycles, playing hopscotch, playing hide and seek, playing basketball. You know, all that. We did a lot of activities outside, and kids were not as sickly then as they are now. We were introduced to microwavable meals at that time, so we did start having problems. That's kind of where it started. But we need to focus, it's our responsibility, we need to focus on feeding them real foods. My dog is down here spinning, so I'm like trying to like bump her and everything to get her to stop chasing her tail. I'm working with her on that one. And I might have to do a video on dogs in a lot of sickness. My Hershey, my Australian Shepherd, when he was age 2, he's 8 years old now. At age 2, he started to have seizures. And I have a theory as why that is. I also maybe have a little bit of a theory why Miss Luna has all of a sudden developed anxiety. And so I've been educating myself on dog health. I've helped Hershey's seizure issue by just cooking for him and eliminating his flea and tick medications. And yeah, I'll have to do a puppy video. But anyway, I'm going to close out this video. Please feed your kids healthy foods. If you want your kid to have productive, long life, not being so hyper in school, I mean, they do need exercise. I think it is one of the reasons why I want to do homeschooling for my child, because they really need to burn off energy. They're not made, none of us are made to sit hours and hours and just trying to pay attention to one thing. You know, there's so many distractions. You got other kids, you know, even when I go to church for an hour and a half, it's hard for me to sit still for an hour and a half at church. And I'm like, okay, at least we get up and we do some singing, we sit down, we have a little meet and greet, you know, stuff like that. So I'm not saying homeschool your kids, because some of them, you know, we need a break. But definitely start with their diet. Clean up their diet. You have control. You as a parent, you have control of what your child eats. It's your responsibility to make sure your child is eating healthy. So, all right, you guys, I will see you in the next video, and we'll probably talk about puppies.